Okay, hello. This is a bit of an unusual video for me. I've posted some code example videos before that none of them really had like a voiceover or anything like that before. And obviously none of them had like the little pixel art guy in the corner with the code monkey knockoff pixel art. But I just wanted to real quick show a video of something that I just made in the last 60 to 90 minutes. So I was watching a video on YouTube and there was an offhand mention that if you scale an object in 3D, if you scale an object with the pivot at the camera, the object will appear to be the same within the camera. It will appear to be the same size. So just running off of that impulse, and I'll have that video linked below. But I was just curious if that would work in Unity and if I could do something with that, and I ended up with this. So you can pick up an object, and if you look here in the game view, it looks the same. But in the scene view, you can see it's starting to scale up. And then when I drop it, it's clearly much larger. And I can do the same thing with other objects. It's just, simply you pick it up. I use this scroll wheel for the controls, and then it makes the object larger. Obviously, this is very similar to existing puzzle games, mostly Superliminal. I think that's the pretty obvious one. I'll have that video linked below, as well as the outline asset that I'm using and the first-person controller asset that I'm using. I just wanted to keep this really simple because I just had the idea and I wanted to see if this would work. And it is relatively simple. Obviously, I could clean this up a bit. I could make it work with like a raycast, the way it works in Superliminal, so that you would walk up to an object and then, you can scale it that way. Obviously, there's a lot of cleanup that I can do for this project. It's not entirely perfect. I'm pretty sure I can knock myself into the ground if I scale something too small. But I just wanted to see if the idea of an object scaling with the camera, if you set your pivot on the camera and the object looks the same size in frame, I just wanted to see if that would work. And obviously that does work. So clearly there's a lot that can be done with something like this. Particularly if you look at the game Superliminal, which I'll have a link to it below, for people to check out an actual use case of this, and not just something I threw together on impulse at midnight. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought this was a really cool effect, so that's why I wanted to post it. I'll have the script below if people want to check it out, but in general, it's pretty simple. And here is the script itself if you're curious. I'll make like a paste bin or something below for you to read it if you want to do that, but it's pretty basic, it's pretty straightforward. I didn't overcomplicate it. I didn't make my variables private and serialized field and all that because I was just like, does this actually work? I want to see if it does. Basically, you have a game object for your pivot, you have a maximum distance for clicking on things, which of course you can change if you want, a layer mask for what objects are scalable, just to make sure you're not clicking on the wrong thing there. Your camera, a reference to it, there's other ways to do this. Again, I just made it a public thing because I'm putting this together. It's a very quick, hacky way to do it. And a scroll multiplier. I applied this so that when you're scrolling up and down, you can adjust the speed of it. I have an outline object that's related to the asset that I got. So I will have that asset linked below. Rigid body and game objects. I just wanted to hold these in different variables. It makes things a bit easier down the line. So you can see the update function is just these 4 methods, and I probably could have made it into one if I wanted to, but it's just easier for me to read this way. The move pivot method sets the pivot's position and rotation to be equal to the camera. Pretty simple. The mouse move is a bit more complicated, as you can see. You're essentially getting the mouse position, and to be fair, the FPS asset that I got, it does lock the mouse to the center of the screen, but I just grab mouse position just to be extra super safe. You shoot a ray from the mouse position, and you check what it hits. If the thing that it hits has an outline, you can activate and deactivate that outline based on whether or not you hit it. For the rigid body, you are basically just checking if it has a rigid body and setting that to be the target rigid body. And yeah, again, I'll have all this linked below. I feel like there's probably a cleaner way to do this. This is the result of programming at midnight. And if you don't hit something, then you basically just release the target object you're looking at. The outline, if you have one, should be switched off. The rigid body, if you have one, you should just simply let go of it. And then we deal with mouse clicking, the mouse being up or down. If you have a target object based on the mouse move over and everything that was done before, then you just basically pick up the object. It's essentially just, this is a very simple way of doing it. it's just setting kinematic to true, and then it lets you carry a rigid body object around. Conversely, if you set kinematic to false, you would just drop that object and gravity will do what it does. In addition, on mouse up, I also reset the scale of the pivot object. That isn't strictly necessary, I just think it's a little cleaner. This method here, scale pivot, is where the magic happens, if you want to call it that. Essentially, it just checks if your mouse is down, if you actually have an object that you're looking at. As you move the scroll wheel, which is mouse scroll delta, it sets a variable, and I just wrote this in a way that was a bit easier for me to read, and also makes sure that scroll scale will not go below, or at least the scale of the object rather, will not go below 0. And if that's the case, then it essentially increases or decreases the object scale. Obviously, there's ways to clean this up. I'm actually not sure my scale thing would work as intended, or rather make sure it doesn't break. I'm pretty sure it won't go into a negative scale, but I can scale something down small enough that it bumps into the physics object on the character controller and then pushes it through the floor, which of course is not what you want to do. Or maybe you do want to do that. I don't know your life, I don't know your games. But this was just a fun little idea, so I just put this together, and I think it looks really cool. I'm sure there's something that can be done with this. I mean, obviously, there is a game that has done some incredible stuff with this already. Superliminal, if you have not played it, has some very interesting puzzles and some very interesting visuals. Genuinely think people should check out that game just for how good of a puzzle game it is. But yeah, not to make this video too long or anything, I just made this thing and I thought it was really cool, and now I understand a bit more about how a game that I like works. And that's always a fun feeling in game dev, knowing a bit more about something that you would already appreciate. This is kind of rambly, and we'll see if I actually put this out at 2 AM. And if I do, please excuse everything about this. Thanks for watching.